joining us today. My name is Connor Fermender, co-founder and CEO of Fieldr, where we streamline the connection between students and employers. I want to thank everyone for joining us during our first podcast ever. We're here on March 20th, very excited to be recording our first one and excited to be publishing it. In today's first episode, we're going to be discussing the topic of the COVID-19 virus, also known as the coronavirus, in the workplace. And what are we going to do now? What the heck are we going to do now with this crisis going on? We're going to focus on helping students, employers, and staff stay connected and above this crisis. We'll be providing tips to working remotely, tips to managing staff remotely, tips for students to stay productive, and all in all, we're here to help educate our listeners on best practices during this crisis. Very excited for us to bring in a guest here today with me, one of our advisory board members. But first, let me give him his proper introduction. So, founded in England in 1988, Third Eye Management and Associates has helped owners of small and mid-market businesses increase revenue, reduce and control costs, and amplify their market share. After just a few years of the corporate life, Carl had decided that running his own business was the only way to go. A serial entrepreneur at best, he built and sold 4 multi-million-dollar businesses by the age of 40. No stranger to the podium, Carl has shared his principles and insights with thousands of people around the globe, including distinguished dignitaries such as His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales and Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. If that were not enough, he is also the co-author of Fix It in 5 and co-host of Quit and Get Rich with Gibbons and Gold, a B2B internet business talk show and podcast. As you can imagine, Carl has been recognized frequently for his significance, with Gulf Shore Business naming him one of the power player and influential forces in this region's business community. One of Carl's clients described him as the Simon Cowell of business advisors. Love him or hate him, you cannot ignore him. He is astute, incisive, doesn't pull his punches, and is always right on the money. Carl epitomizes everything the word entrepreneur stands for. Put simply, he sees it, gets it, and makes it happen. So strap in, enjoy this ride, and please give a warm welcome to our guest, Carl Gibbons.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you so
That's
much.
a mouthful.
Hey, I'm thinking I can't wait to hear whoever this is. So I hope I live up to that introduction. Thank you.
Absolutely. Carl, it's a pleasure to have you on our first episode. We're very excited.
I'm honored. I'm honored.
For those of you who might also not know, among that long list of achievements and significances, Carl is also one of our advisory board members for Fieldr. We're very honored, very fortunate to be working with him, and have been working with him for some time now. And Carl, he's definitely been on his game. He's been following this virus since the very touchdown of it here in the States and beyond that, and he's been doing his best to keep the community informed, educated, and he's been kind enough to hop on our show here today and pass that education on to you. Carl, I have a few questions I want to jot down. We've had some audience members that have been kind enough to post some questions as well, and we'll definitely make sure we save some time for them.
Bring it on.
Absolutely. So employers, right? We all know they're moving remotely. We all know they're trying to sustain teams as well, those who run those teams.
Right.
Where do employers go from here? What are the immediate action steps?
Right. They've got a 10-point plan. It's real simple. The first thing they've got to do is instigate a strict hygiene policy. And that goes beyond just disinfecting all the surfaces. But the thing is, everybody has to know about it and everybody has to comply with it. It's no good just printing a memo and putting it out there. That's not good enough. Everybody's got to know it, understand it, and comply with it. Number 2, you've got to instigate a vulnerability audit. So you've got to take a step back, look at my business and say, how can this hurt me? All right. And look at the vulnerable parts of your business and start to put a plan in place that will protect that. Okay. Then you've got to create a continuity plan, because the one thing that you've got to do is keep moving forward. Do not stop. Keep the business going. Whatever you've got to do, whatever form it has to take, we need to be flexible. We've got to be creative. We're going to probably come on to that a little bit later on, but you've got to keep going. And that's going to need a continuity plan, because by definition, everything's changed. The world has changed overnight. Okay. Then you've got to overstock your inventory. The fact is there are going to be shortages later on in the year. And so you need to take a look at your key areas of inventory that you need, and I would like to suggest you look at a quarter's worth in advance if you can. All right, that's not panic buying. I'm not the greatest lover of inventory because, as you've heard me say before, inventory is evil. But there is going to be shortages a little bit later on this year, so we need to get that going. Okay, then you've got to deliver your services diligently. Keep going. Just keep going. Then number 7, you've got to encourage your employees to work remotely, and that's not just saying there's a laptop, there's a folder, go home and do it. And I'm sure you've got a question coming on to that a little bit later on. But you've got to encourage them to do that. You've got to bolster your cybersecurity, because if you've got everybody working at home, most people's level of security at home is nowhere near what most businesses are. And depending on what business you are in, you probably have very, very sensitive information, if not something your competitors will want to look at. So you need to look at bolstering not only yours, but potentially your staff who are working from home. You need to look at their cybersecurity. And then you've got to ensure end-to-end visibility. You've got to make sure you are totally transparent and in constant contact all the while with your clients and your vendors. And last, but by no means least, in the long term, you've got to diversify your sourcing and supply chain, because things are going to change. So those are the 10 steps that they need to take yesterday.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's obviously a lot. 10, to be specific, 10 steps they need to
10
take.
steps.
10 steps. And so,
10 steps.
And so I'm sure obviously you're aware, our platform really helps, secure job placement, right? It helps students land those.
Absolutely.
So with all of this transition going on, can we expect companies to actually move forward with any hiring right now, or do we expect that's going to be put on the back burner?
No, it's not going to get put on the back burner. It's going to be quite the reverse, but it's going to be different. Look, the events of the last week, 10 days has changed everything. The world is never going to be the same, because it's not just America that's been affected, or Florida, or South Carolina, or New York. It's London, Paris, Rome, New York, Tokyo, Sydney, Australia. Everything has changed. The rules have changed as of the beginning of this pandemic. So here's the thing. The employment pool is going to increase. There are going to be layoffs. People are going to be let go from mid-April, and we're probably going to see the largest spike in unemployment since records have been kept. I don't want to be a scaremonger, but I've been looking at figures, everything from 500,000 to millions of people being laid off. However, here's the thing. All good employees consistently look for 2 things, and going forward, it's going to be more important than ever. They're always looking to upgrade and improve their teams, and the best will always be in demand, and they'll always command a premium, especially now those with a proven track record of working remotely. So guys, you've got to up your game. It doesn't matter what you do, you've got to up your game, because employers are looking for that. Good is the new bad.
Right. Yeah, no, that's great. Great point. And we've mentioned a few times now the transition of staff members working remotely. That's got to be tough for, I'm sure, a lot of people who may be just used to going into the office, and all resources, all supplies, all materials needed to be productive are in their workplace.
Right.
What are some tips and tricks maybe for those who are now forced, they have no other option? Is just about all of us actually to be working from home now.
And me included, right? You're
right.
Talking to me from my home office now. So again, a quick 10 team of tips to help you guys out there. So soak up the sun. Sit somewhere nice. Sit somewhere that's pleasant, and by a window that you can enjoy your work. We don't need to feel like you're sitting in some sort of dungeon. Eliminate distractions. And I've got to tell you, I am terrible. I can be over here and dodging around. Eliminate distractions. Keep it simple. You don't need NASA. You don't need a complete state-of-the-art technology. Maybe a couple of screens plugged into your laptop and your printer, and you're good to go. Have a plant or some flowers around. Just make the place feel nice. Pictures of loved ones. Play some music in the background. Put your earplugs in. All right. Stock up on supplies and consumables. I know we're going through this, toilet paper shortage. Everybody seems to be going crazy on toilet tissue. But I have to tell you, that's a prelude of what's to come. And but you need to think about paper for your printer, right?
Right.
Uh, you know, there are no Xerox fairies to put the paper in the printer anymore because you're not at the office, because that we all know that the Xerox fairies do that overnight, right?
Right.
And well, they're not there anymore, so you've got to do it. So you need to make sure that you take enough home with you, and your employer gives you enough to keep you stocked. So think about things like that. Stay well nourished. Make sure that you're living and eating and working properly. Get up, get dressed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get hanging around and thinking, I'll have a shower at lunchtime and what the hell, and I can stay in my pajamas and work at my desk. No, it's a mindset. Set yourself exactly as you used to do when you were going into the office. Whatever time you got up, get washed, get shaved. In my case, do your hair, right? Go into the office, but get up and get dressed and get mentally prepared to work. All right. Again, take regular, short, sweet breaks. If you had a 15-minute break at 11 o'clock when you're normally in the office or at your workplace, take a 15-minute break still while you're at home, right? Not a 50-minute break, right? Keep with that 15-minute break and be disciplined. Do at home what you do at work. Mm-hmm. All right. And so I get it. Maybe there's your other halves around, brothers, sisters, kids, grannies, wives, husbands, whoever. But say to them, look, if the door is shut, I'm working. They get it. They understand. All right. But don't get distracted. Don't start thinking, oh, I know, I need to go and clean the car. That needs doing. Or, oh, I need to go and put a load of washing on. No, you're at work. Stay with work.
Right. So that's a great point. And that's all about, like you mentioned, maintaining that mindset that just because you might not be in that normal workplace, right, but to create that work setting and to create that proactive, productive setting and keep that mindset. I absolutely agree.
Because you've got to keep your skills sharp, right?
Right.
Because we can lose skills if we don't use them. We've got to keep them sharp.
Absolutely. Yeah. Don't want to lose that sense of consistency.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are a lot of plans. And I know you've mentioned, even to be specific, we're going to be going into quarter 2, quarter 3, and 4. Obviously the evolution and just the intensity of it is going to change and vary.
Yeah.
And let's hope it lightens up sooner than later. But we're looking at a long-term preparation, and not just ourselves, but maybe build on just the economical stress that we're going to be facing for a long time.
All right. Well, and that's a great question, Colin. Great question. Well done. Q2. Let's do it by the quarter, right? Let's do the quarter tango. Q2 is going to be not just rough, it's going to be tough. Okay? I can give you no words of comfort for Q2. It's going to be bad. So strap in, buckle up, do whatever it is you're going to do. Right. Q3. It will be flat, but there will be a return to work. And so goods, which is 40% of the economy, that'll be the first thing to come back. Services, which is 60% of the economy, which breaks into 2 sectors. The 30% normal service-based businesses, the plumber, the pool guy, whatever it is, the normal service-based industries, they will lead. Then the 30% of that service sector, the 60%, anything that's social or interactive or requires a community or gathering of people to make it happen. Tourism, hospitality, restaurants, sports, events, they are going to be the slowest to recover. And the reason they're going to be the slowest to recover is because they're affected by time. And what do I mean by that? So if you have a 2-week vacation that's scheduled in August and you were going to go to Disney and you go back to work in September, August has gone, right? So you've got to wait another cycle to come round to August again. So think of it like that if it helps. So you will always be playing catch up, okay? Now, Q4, the recovery and the bounce back will really take hold and will begin. But a warning. There is and there will be pent-up demand across the board, coupled with a shortage of supply in Q4. So review your supply chain now. And if I've said that once in this interview, I've probably said it 3 times. I cannot emphasize how important that is.
All right. No, they're great points. Great points. I'm actually working with a buddy of mine in his apparel line, and believe it or not, lo and behold, where his orders come out from are actually in fact China. And so we're dealing with a lot of that stress right now and dealing with those pain points right now, of course, being that the origin of it. But yeah, I absolutely can feel your pain. Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to take a little bit of a shift here now. We kind of just briefed a lot on the employment, the workplace, and employers. Students, though, we heavily serve students. We're always working with students. On the sense of feeling the pressure, I'm sure you've heard all classes, both college and higher education and high school,
Yeah.
all moved online. What are maybe some tips to both the school students and maybe the faculty to help make this transition a bit seamless, who aren't quite as prepared maybe as the workforce?
Okay, well, you've got to stay focused, guys. You just have. You've got to be flexible. Everything's in a constant change of flux right now. I mean, by the time we finish this interview, there's probably going to be 100 posts on social media with some politician has said this, some governor has instituted that, some business owner has done this, some entrepreneur, some major airline has made this decision. Everything is in a constant state of flux. Abnormal is the new normal, all right? But you need to stay focused, but be flexible, right? So if you're studying, you've got to get your head down and you've got to study, okay? And apply the same principles that I talked about from working from home. And that's the only difference. And if you've got online classes, if you've got online tutorials, take them. Make sure you do, because again, to slip back is really easy. You want to keep pushing forward all the while. And coming back to the employer thing, as an employer, I'm going to be looking for those guys. I'm going to be looking for the guys that said to me, yeah, I went home, I set up my little, my home university, and I just crushed it from home, and I kept going. Those are the guys that are going to be employable. The guys that we've all seen it recently on the beaches during spring break, partying, and like, dude.
Yeah, they recently closed all the beaches. We saw that.
You are unemployable for the rest of your life. You have no idea the damage that you did yourself doing that interview.
I even saw, you might be familiar with the Lani Kai Hotel on
Yes.
Beach. Made front page news of, I don't know if it was New York Times, but it was some national news source. It made front page news, headline something along the lines of spring breakers, not quite taking the precautionary action that they're being suggested to. They also did now close down all the beaches, forcing them to leave. But I hear what you're saying. Right. Absolutely.
So, you've got lots of this stuff, guys. Start using it, right? Start using it.
And so relative to your quarterly breakdown and the workplace, workforce, do we anticipate that these online classes is going to continue going as well into any summer semesters that college students might have?
I've just said we don't know. We're in a constant state of flux.
Right.
By the time this interview is all over, we could all be back to work.
Right.
I doubt it. But we just don't know. We just don't know. Right. So just whatever the day demands. One of my clients, that's her favorite catchphrase, and I love it. When she gets up in the morning, it's like whatever the day demands.
Yeah, well, I love that.
That's how you have to look at it.
One of my preferred references, phrases that you actually mentioned to us, Natalie, my co-founder, and I, is to stay proactive and not reactive in this type of situation.
Absolutely.
That has been gold. Maybe talk a little bit more about that. Maybe build on that for our listeners.
Okay. Well, this is a time that you've got to rethink, retool, redirect, and then you can reboot, right? So rethink, what needs to change? What do I need to change? What does my environment needs to change? What does my employer need to change? We just need to completely rethink everything that we do. Okay. Then we retool. As a result of the rethinking, what do I need? I might not need this anymore. I can't find anything else. I might need this now. We just need to retool. What do we need to do? What do we need to have to do it? Then we've got to redirect. Okay. What priorities do I need to focus on going forward? And they've changed now, Connor. They've just changed. They've changed overnight. And so you need to do that. Then once everybody's given the green light and we're all back, then we can just reboot. It's just, when you find up tech support and they say, have you tried rebooting? Well, the entire world is going to reboot.
Yeah.
The entire world is going to reboot.
Well, let's hope that, most oftentimes when restarting, rebooting that technology, it often comes right back on and works. So let's hope that it's very relative to the economy and to our business world as well.
Right.
Once
Right.
everybody reboots, we can get back to it. I like it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you see, just like the virus, fear is contagious. So don't catch it, right?
Absolutely is.
Business as usual will be a long time in returning, right? Because it's not business as usual anymore. It's new business. It's a brave new world. We're just moving into a new way of doing it. The game has changed forever. Plan B and business continuity plans are going to take prominence in business plans going forward. The hurt and the scars from this are going to be big, and they're going to run deep. So normally when you put a business plan together, you have the what ifs at the end just to keep everybody happy. That now it's not about what ifs anymore. It's about plan Bs. What happens if this or something like it happens again? How are we going to do? What are we going to do? What's our plan for business continuity? Because we don't ever want to stop again. So we've got to keep moving forward.
All right. Those are some great points. And so actually we've had a few listeners, some audience members, and some of Fieldr have jumped in actually, and they have a few questions that they want to run by you, Carl.
You got it.
First one is from an FGCU student and a Publix employee. Her name is Edna. Her question is, Carl, do you have any advice for the listeners who are home with their families and all trying to stay productive while working from home? You actually mentioned this a little bit earlier, shutting the door, but maybe build on that for those with the family.
Great question, Edna, and especially families that have got lots of little ones around. I mean, I'm very lucky. I'm just old and ugly, and there's just me and my wife, so we both have our home office, so that's all good. But maybe, Edna, you depending on the office scenario. So I'm going to make a big leap here, and I'm going to assume that you've turned maybe one of your spare bedrooms into your office space. Okay. Well, why don't you do from 8 till 10, and then somebody else who's working from home, they can do the 10 till 2 shift. That's what I'm trying to get at here. Everybody work it in shifts. So don't all start fighting over who's going to have access to the internet and who's going to have access to the computer. And while you're doing your work, Edna, maybe the rest of your family and friends, they can be keeping everybody else happy, looking after the kids, whatever, looking after, taking the dog for a walk, etc. Okay. And then when your shift is finished, the next person goes on and you're doing what they were doing for you. That's the way I would approach it.
Structure and time management. I like it. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. Great question. Edna, I hope that answered the question.
I hope it helps, Edna.
All right. Followed by, so we have an entrepreneur, blogger, and a Peace Corps member, actually. Her name is Ashley. Ashley wants to know, Carl, what is your perspective on those who are not taking the pandemic too seriously?
You're an idiot.
You hear it here, folks. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Right.
You can't fix stupid, my friend. Yep. You know, I mean, we've all been seeing it on the internet. This is a conspiracy. Stop. Are you telling me that every major politician and world leader stopped, huddled in a little room, or got on a conference call and said, I know, guys, let's screw everybody over and let's wreck every economy in the world? I mean, come on. People are dying. This is serious. Yeah. Okay? And I have no time for that at all. And Ashley, neither should you. So, but Ashley, I'm sorry, you just can't fix stupid. And the people that are coming along with that, they're just stupid. Yeah. Just move on. You don't even be associated with them. Don't get near them, because their stupidity might even be contagious, and I don't want that for you.
Great points, Ashley. I hope that helped. And it sounds like, Ashley, you're very serious about this, as you rightfully so should be. So keep on protecting yourself, your family, friends, and stay healthy.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that question, Ashley. All right, next one. So we have a young gentleman, it looks like, from NCH Healthcare down in Naples. His name's Tyler. Tyler wants to actually first give a shout out to all of the nurses, doctors, and just the healthcare industry who are working absolutely harder than ever. So shout out to everyone in the healthcare industry. That comes from us and Tyler. Followed by Tyler's question, though, is how might the rest of us be able to support those workers who are in the healthcare industry and they're not getting to work from home? How can we maybe support them?
Okay, and Tyler, I echo your statements completely. You can add my name to that list. Thank you to all our support services that are helping us out: the doctors, the nurses, the social care and care workers, just everybody. But a great question, Tyler. So here's what you can do. Why don't you form a little group, get 10 of you guys together, go and contact a local doctor's surgery or a local hospital and pal up with a doctor or a nurse or somebody. Go do their shopping for them. Go fill their car full of gas. Go take their dog for a walk. Go pick their kids up from school.
Yeah,
alleviate some of their stress, because they, bless them, are totally focused on helping us through this crisis. All right. And the more stress we can take away from them, and it's always the little stuff, Connor, right? It's always the, oh my God, I need to pick up something from Publix, from the greengrocer, or, I'm running out of apples and oranges, or I've got no potatoes. Go get it for them. Go get it for them. All right.
That's brilliant. Especially in the sense that, we know these grocery stores, they're being raided, by everyone. You joked earlier about the toilet paper, right? But it's not just toilet paper. A lot of stuff is being raided. A lot of stuff's on, and
it's crazy. And to that point, people just calm down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Calm down. There is not a food shortage. There is not a food shortage. There's plenty to go around. And the sad thing is, everybody is not as capable of just springing up, jumping in a car and rushing over there. Sadly, I've seen some senior citizens who have been forced to the back of the line. Don't wind me up on that one. It just makes me angry. But there's what Tyler and his crew can do. Go and find some senior citizens that maybe are not as fortunate as everybody else, and go do some stuff for them. Even if it's just going to pick up their prescriptions, or just, take their dogs for a walk, or take them out for a ride in the car. Just buddy up, and help. That's what you can do.
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely, just anything to help alleviate that pressure. And Tyler, I extend my offer as well. If we want to do this, I would be more than happy to do it with you. I think that's a brilliant idea of Carl's, and again, we give a shout out and keep everyone in our blessings who is in that healthcare industry. All right, we have one final question. Time for one more final question by a listener. He's a student, also FGCU student, as well as an employee locally here in Fort Myers. His name's Jack. Jack wants to know, how do you think commission-based sales representatives can drum up a busy time of this during this crisis? So what can sales members who are on a commission base, what can they do to stay busy and hopefully retain that income?
Come on, Jack, a salesman. You just said it. You're a salesman. Right. Go sell, Jack. No, seriously, I come back to the Q2. It is going to be rough and it is going to be tough. Let's not try and let's not try and gloss over that, okay? But Jack, maybe you need to look at not just now what you sell, but how you sell. Maybe things have to take a different approach. Maybe you've got to be a lot more flexible. Now maybe you've got to start looking at packages and bundles. Maybe you've got to be looking at pricing offers. And notice I didn't say discounts, but maybe you've got to be looking at extended credit, or you've just got to be a lot more creative, Jack. And that's the best advice I can give you, because I'm actually the world's worst salesman. So maybe not the best question you could have asked me, but it's this flexibility, yeah. It's this rethink, retool, redirect, reboot, right, Jack, because it's changing. It's different, man. And if when you do your rethink, retool, redirect, reboot analysis, can come up with a better, faster, more effective way, then you will have struck oil. You will have struck gold. Yeah. Think like this, my friend. Think of 2 or 3 things that really annoy people about your sector, about dealing with people in your world. And maybe a good one is, can you say to them, look, if you deal with me, I promise you that will never happen, right? because everybody, we all know it. It doesn't matter what sector there is. We all get fed up with the, oh, you guys, you always say that. Oh, you guys, you always say that. All right. And we're all sort of tinged with it a little bit. Let's be fair. Right. So maybe, Jack, if you can come up with something and say, look, if you put your trust in me, I promise you, you'll never have that from me. I will guarantee you that won't happen. Jack, you just got people's attention, my friend. You've just got people's attention.
There we go.
I hope that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet it does. Innovative thinking, Jack. Innovative and strategic thinking.
Yep.
That's a great question, though, Jack. All right, so we're kind of nearing the end of our time here. Carl, one final question, not as much as a question, just as it is an open-ended opportunity for you. Tell us what's happening in the world of Carl and the world of Third Eye Management and Associates that our listeners should know about, and maybe where they can find you.
Well, as always, I do the same thing today that I started out doing over 30 years ago. Hopefully, I just do it a little bit better. And that's I work with small and mid-market sector businesses to grow and expand and develop their business. All my clients are in that arena. Given the current global situation, not only with the stock market and the Russians and the Saudis, and then we've got the coronavirus and all that sort of stuff. My phone has blown up, so there's lots going on, which is great. I'm very happy to help anybody in any way I can. Just contact me, reach out to me. Don't worry, you don't have to think, oh my God, I can't call him or whatever. Reach out to me, contact me. I will help you. All right. And if you want to hook up with me, just go to my website, which is Third Eye Management. That's Third EYEmanagement.com, or you can call or text me on 239 961 0927. That's 239 961 0927.
Awesome. There, you heard it there, folks and listeners. You can find Carl. And also, quickly, let them know what your Facebook handle is, because I always see you're frequently posting on Facebook.
Yeah. It's thirdeyemanagement.com, or I think it's Carl.Gibbons on Facebook. Just if you put in Carl Gibbons, I promise you it will come up. Gosh, how conceited was that, right?
Hey, well,
I'll be there.
Yeah, he'll be there, folks. He'll be there. Well, awesome. Well, that's it for today, everyone. I want to thank you, Carl, for being our first guest on Fieldr Academy's podcast. It's
been my pleasure. Thank you for hosting me.
Well, it was a lot of fun. This was very fun. And folks, listeners, you can stay tuned for the release of our next podcast, our next Fieldr Academy podcast. We'll be posting it all over our social media, exactly what date that will be published. But first, enjoy this podcast, re-listen to it again. Obviously, as Carl mentioned, we're going to be facing this for a little bit of a long term. So all this content, all that we discussed in this podcast, I'm sure it can continue to help you, not just today, but tomorrow and the next day and all throughout this crisis. So stay healthy, stay safe, folks, and we'll see you on the other side. Bye now.
Thank you. Take care.